Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 2025 edition of the Vicksburg Planning Commission meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Secretary Cox, will you please take a roll call vote, or roll call, excuse me, attendance. Yeah.
Member Weil?
Present.
Member Plankenhorn?
Here.
Member Kissinger?
Here.
Member Bailey?
Here.
Member DeBalt?
Here.
Chairman Schenkel?
Present.
Member Cox is here. Oh, sorry, Mr. Riashi, I didn't see you down there. Member Riashi?
I'm here.
All right, the approval of agenda, next item on our list. I do have an amendment to make. We have Kevin Crittenton here from Southwest Michigan First, and we would like to slot him in under the Section 6 Planning Commission items before we get into the zoning project discussion. So with that, I will call for the approval of tonight's agenda with that change.
Member Riashi, motion to approve the change.
Support from, motion from Riashi. Do we have support for that motion?
Support from Kissinger.
Kissinger. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. At this time, we'll open up for citizen comments, and there are no citizens in the audience today. So we will move on to approval of minutes from our November meeting. I trust everyone has had time to review those minutes, and if there are no amendments or changes that would like to be made, I will call for a motion to approve those minutes.
This is Member Plankenhorn to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from November.
We have a motion from Plankenhorn. Do we have support for that motion?
Support by Weil.
Support from Weil. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. All right, at this time, I'm going to welcome up Kevin. All right. Staff is going to make their way up, but I think staff is going to provide the introduction of Southwest Michigan.
Yeah, I wanted to give a background. We've been, and questions have come up in front of this board. I've been asked about the chamber and business involvement in the village with all the events that we have downtown. So probably a year ago, started to have conversations with the chamber out of Southwest Michigan First, and we've had now, I think, 3 different quarterly type business meetings here in Vicksburg, each of them very well attended by businesses in South Kalamazoo County and beyond for networking opportunities in that. We began having conversations of looking at ways to expose most of our businesses, especially in the DDA, are certainly under 50 employees, and most of them, in fact, are under 15 employees, in a way to get them exposed to the benefits of being a member of the chamber, and likewise a kind of a marketing win for the village of Vicksburg in of itself. So what we've come up with is an investment utilizing DDA funds that would have the membership paid for, and we're looking at almost like a 4-year type deal in investment, meaning the first year, which would be 2026, DDA funds would pay 100% of that membership cost, where the businesses then would become educated and begin to understand that this is an investment versus an expense and what benefits would be derived. And certainly we'll have Kevin come up here and talk about the details of the programming that they would offer and some of those benchmarks that we've put in place. But in year 2, like a 75%, 25%, where our goal would be in this next 12 to 18 months to get our local businesses to philosophically understand that, hey, if we all work together, everyone's going to benefit from this, people will understand that they're not in it alone, and that if we to do these extra events and this type of stuff, our volunteer corps will grow, and they might, and then we also drive people for a membership in a quote-unquote local chamber, and then try to get that partnership in year 2 where we use DDA funds 75% and maybe 25% on the merchants, and 50-50 and 25-75 for those that are seeing the investment, and then it's really grown from that point. We do have the total investment on year 1 would be $8,000 of Downtown Development Association funds. We certainly have that to invest in our business community. We certainly know it won't be 100%. We can't make people become a part of this program, but certainly can offer it. Our goal would be somewhere in the 30 to 35 businesses within our downtown district actively involved in learning about the program, but everyone will certainly have personal contact and know. Tonight specifically, we'll be asking for a motion support and a vote of approval to recommend the village council to approve the expenditure of this money next Monday night. And then Kevin and I'll work and make sure all the I's and T's are dotted, and we have this thing ready to go by the end of this month and starting next year. Kevin can talk about the goals of the partnership and what the annual programming and that would look like. But I wanted to let you know that to cover the DDA area, and then our staff would work with the local businesses to ensure sign up went smooth. And then Kevin, I'll count on you to talk about the quarterly initiatives from Southwest Michigan. But like I said, if we can get the local business community involved in this, I envision monthly meetings. So you might have 2 months in a row, very localized businesses meeting, getting positive energy and momentum for Vicksburg. And then every third meeting, bring in the expertise from the chamber and education and training opportunities and in a greater width of occurring. So with that, I do appreciate, because Kevin and I don't know, 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, talked on it, and it's really accelerated. Kevin has invested multiple days down talking to businesses, walking downtown with them and that. So thank you very much, Kevin, for all of that. And now the ball is in your court to get it across the goal line. All right? All right, I'll leave that right there.
Thank you, Jim, for that introduction, and thank you guys for having me here today. Just feel grateful and very excited to talk about this partnership. It's something that we've been kicking around for a little while, but we're excited. We've grown the chamber, and we are the chamber for the Kalamazoo County. We've grown that over 50% over the past probably 3 years. But simultaneously, we've been just keeping an eye on what's going on out here, and the engagement that you guys have created in your community, the support that you guys have, and really from afar, we've just wanted to be your guys' biggest cheerleaders. So to support you guys as much as you have. Over that time, we've started to build some relationships and build some trust. And also, as Jim said, spend some time out here. We've been hosting some town halls out here, and just being engaged with the businesses and finding out how can we support you folks. So we're excited to have this conversation. I think one of the main things that when I was talking with the team was we wanted to make sure Vicksburg keeps its own identity. You guys have something really cool going on here, and we want to see how we can help just help take that and be a catalyst to the next level with that. So again, we came up with this programming where we would take some members from your DDA and we would provide them with a chamber membership. Now this is going to give them an opportunity for us to bring some tools and resources, some educational tools and resources out here to your businesses, some specific programming. but just as importantly, for us to engage your business community, to use you guys as subject experts, and to promote that, to create awareness to what's going on out here and some of the cool businesses. Spending some time walking around with Jim, it just got me really, really excited about what we have about this potential partnership. So with that being said, I'm just going to talk about some of the programming that we would bring out here specifically for the businesses in Vicksburg. One of the first things that we talked about was you guys have done an amazing job with the Berg Days, and we were how can we even bolster that up even more? So every month we run a Chamber Connect. These are some of our largest events. They can be anywhere from 80 people to one we hosted one a couple weeks ago that was 200 folks, where we bring people out to the business community to be able to make connections, collaborations. We usually highlight a nonprofit, but it's just a great way for us to get people into spaces that they wouldn't typically get into. So that's the whole goal, is to get people out here so they can experience what's cool going on out here in Vicksburg. We've been doing the town hall forums, so this is something that's going to continue to do, or that we're going to continue to be doing. I know we've held them here at Mackenzie's Bakery, a couple other places. These are great times for us to highlight what's going on specifically in the Vicksburg community, what's happening with the businesses, what support is needed, and where can we step in to connect those dots. Another couple programming that we wanted to bring out here that our members find very valuable is a Small and Mighty series, we call it. This is a business educational portion of our programming. Obviously, the networking is great, making connections, that's very important, but we also want to bring out tools that may be business succession planning, it may be marketing, it may be any accounting, any of those the blocking and tackling of running a business. So it does two things. You get a chance to have some subject matter expertise in the room, and you have a group of business owners in the room together building relationships. So not only are you getting education, you're also getting those, you're building those relationships. And the last two would be a Monday midday mixer. So we'd want to bring out a midday luncheon connection type event where folks would be able to come together. We would have some specific programming. People would be able to network. We would set it up to where there'd be specific tables set up. We would take care of all of the organizing it, the name badges, all of those things. But it's an opportunity, again, for people to come together and promote what's going on out here in Vicksburg. And then there's the mid-year check-in with the businesses to talk about how are we doing, what's the level of engagement, how are the connection outcomes, how are those metrics coming, and then just the overall program engagement. But lastly, out of all the things I said, the biggest thing that we want to do is when we have these events, when we get these rooms of people, we want to make sure that we promote these. We want to promote what's going on out here in Vicksburg. We want to tell people the stories of the businesses and these connections, so we draw people out here as well as give your businesses the tools and resources to win. So in short, if that's short, that's what we're attempting to do. Be more than happy to answer any questions or provide any clarity.
Kevin, real quick, would a Chamber Connect come to Vicksburg?
Yes.
Is that the idea?
Yes. It would be in collaboration with a Berg Day, so that we would have a Chamber Connect that would roll right into the evening. So.
Member Kissinger, make a motion to approve.
We have a motion on the
Second.
table, support from Member Cox. Any further discussion? Kevin, I have a question on this. In terms of return on investment for these kinds of things, what do you typically see for that?
Yeah, typically, when you say return on investment, each business, it's going to be unique. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's about bringing in revenue and creating that awareness. So that's always going to be a part of it. But it's really creating that foundation of let's make connections. Let's see where we can connect you to other partnerships, other collaborations that will lead to long-term business. In that first year, it's going to take some time. That's why the metrics that we proposed aren't necessarily financial. It's more engagement to say, hey, what type of connections have we made? What type of engagement that people are seeing? So I don't know if that directly answers your question from a return on investment. We're really looking at the amount of engagement from the business. Well, we will produce some surveys out to the businesses. That's what we like to do as far as getting feedback, as far as where they're finding value with the programming and what specific items are there that they're finding value in.
Are there like grant opportunities or partners that you can guide people to? I was at one of the mixers down here, and I think it was like Kalamazoo grant. I don't know who they were, but one of the grant companies or organizations was there. Would there, be opportunities for businesses to be in the room with those people, or it be introduced to those types of people for things like that?
Absolutely. We don't personally, we wouldn't be responsible for the writing of the grants, but our 500 plus members, we have many that are nonprofits or in that community space, some that are specifically set up to help write grants and help guide people through those processes. So yeah, we have a ton of people in our ecosystem that play in that area.
Great.
Member Riashi, just a quick comment. I remember the Vicksburg Town Hall, in early fall, if you looked around the room, I think there was a show of hands on who was from Vicksburg, and it was less than half. So I thought what was great is that it was bringing people that aren't from our community to our community. So I thought that was pretty cool to see.
Kevin, I have another question for you.
Yes.
What would you say to a business owner who may not be opposed to this, but may not be entirely open to it at the beginning? What kind of personal experiences, what kind of stories would you share that would help them see that value?
I'm a sales guy from the core. And I always tell people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And, I love the stories, and there's a specific story. There's a business that does, business swag. And there was a gentleman, and he had been trying to do business with this company, a pretty large company, for 3 or 4 years. I don't have a real tight relationship with that business owner, but the fact that I see him and I get a chance to be in rooms with them, just that email of, hey, this is someone that, regardless of whether or not you do business with them today or tomorrow, this is somebody that you need to get to know, because what we do know, something will change at some point. So here's another relationship or a contact that you need to have. I ran into the individual a year later, and he was just so ecstatic, ran up and hugged me and said, hey, we've been doing so much business together and X, Y, Z. So that makes me feel great. The other thing that I probably get most excited about with our chamber is we have a lot of folks that are saying, you know what, I haven't always wanted to be part of the chamber. I didn't know, a bunch of guys sitting around drinking scotch, talking about their golf scores. And don't get me wrong, I love some scotch, I love some golf, cigars, all that. But I have a lot of individuals from businesses like, I showed up to an event and I just feel comfortable. I feel a sense of belonging. And at the end of the day, that's what we're about. If you're a business owner, if you have a dream, we don't care who you go home to at night, who you vote for, any of those things. We just want you to be able to have the tools and resources to be able to have a successful business. So that's something that I feel most proud about. And then just like I say, providing that support. Being a business owner is lonely. And when you can get folks in a room, I tell people all we do is create the space and get people in the room, and then the members create the value because they're the ones that are supporting each other. So at the end of the day, that's what we really try to push to do. And then again, it comes back to being an ambassador and being a cheerleader and making sure when those great stories happen that we're voicing those and telling those stories.
I think a big component, and it's been a part of Kevin and I's conversation, this endeavor is not to put a local contingent, a local chamber, to not be existent. It's to complement this local organization and fill in those gaps and provide that, if you will, organizational mentorship that can really hopefully propel the local unit to grow and expand and learn and get those connections as an organization as well. So it's a supplement to hopefully how we can reinvigorate our own local chapter.
Any further questions for Kevin before we take a vote? All right, Secretary Cox, will you please take a roll call vote?
Member Weil,
Approve.
Member Riashi,
Approve.
Member Blankenhorn,
Approve.
Member Kissinger,
Approve.
Chairman Schenkel,
Approve.
Member Bailey. Member Ball. Member Cox approves.
Go.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to working with you folks.
You can stick around the next couple hours to learn about zoning. I know you're a family man.
I'm a 7-year-old.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll follow up with a phone call here tomorrow. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Next item on our agenda for this evening is the update on the residential zoning project. Mr. Mucha, go ahead and share your updates.
Thank you, Mr. Shakel. So as the commission,
I'd like you to, cause, we have it loaded up. So if you let Christian know maybe what page you're on, we'll have that so the members can see it in front of them.
for sure. So we, Christian, just as I begin to talk, are going to be on page 5 of that. So as the commission, I believe, is aware, we are working on updating our zoning ordinance, really with the overall intent to help modernize it, bring it into 21st century, remove a lot of different barriers to housing, development, and other items that need to be cleaned up and, we'll say, restructured in a way that the general person can understand what these regulations are. So our team has been doing that in the background, and then we've met additionally with some members one-off as well to talk about the zoning districts. So a couple months ago we talked about the different uses and the districts of what we could look at. Now I want to focus on tonight on the residential components and themselves. So Christian, Article 2, 5 of the, there you go. Thank you. So what we've done, based on the feedback from the commission, is start to place in these district standards for our new zoning provisions as well. So overall, the first one we have right now is just the preservation district with permitted uses with additional conditions, what we consider special land uses, and then on 6, what our dimensional standards will be. Depending on how our zoning map looks like for the village once we're all said and done, I don't see this district being very populated within the village. There will be some probably parcels that are considered preservation that we want to maintain, but I'm not really thinking this will be an overwhelming component of the village. What I see being more of us for use will be starting page 7, Christian, on the R1 single unit residential. We are trying to get away from calling anything family because obviously you can be a single person and live in a home and not be considered a family. So there will be a dynamic shift from single family to single unit mentality here. So with that, we've listed permitted uses, one being childcare home, knowing that childcare is a burden that a lot of those who have kids face in communities. So making this a permitted use by right allows for childcare facilities, home facilities to grow within the village. And then residential as single unit. From, yeah.
The childcare home, it's a restriction of a certain number of kids too, isn't it? It's not
Correct.
like 20, it's 40.
No, it's not a care facility, it's dictated by the state. So that's up to 7 the state allows for by right itself. And then from there, we have permitted uses with additional conditions. So you can still have it, you don't need special approval, but there are separate standards you have to meet. One being a group care home, and then 2, I'd like to get feedback on accessory dwelling units. Those are, in essence, structures that have been converted to a residential component. Detached garages are a good example of that if you have a detached garage, or even doing a new stick built on a property. It has, a bedroom, kitchen, and living area. They're 400, 600 square feet. They're not a home itself, but they're almost like a studio, a detached studio in essence. So that would be a use permitted by right with conditions. As background, the state has, claimed that housing is a critical issue, so we do need to look at housing and how we can expand housing options. And additionally, as part of the MEDC RRC status program, we have to allow for additional uses as permitted by right. So housing does fall into that category. Essential services would be government entities, fire stations, police stations, so forth like that, and then home occupations. Special land uses we've listed out, and a lot of these follow that chart and table we looked at the last month as well. So nothing has really changed from that regard, just listed in a different format for us here.
Kyle, did you say you were looking for feedback on the accessory dwelling unit?
Yes, if you'd like to, or we can table that for a different day to keep this high level, but.
No, I was just making sure we didn't want to stop.
Nope, that's fine. And then from there, special land uses, bed and breakfast, cemeteries, childcare, again, so forth, golf courses, in that regard. So with that, on page 8, Christian, we've looked at the dimensional standards. What you have here is an older version. We have gone back, our team working with a few others, to modify this, in essence, to keep more of our current R1 standards. So those would be larger lots, larger home footprint, higher setbacks. I see this being more in the south and west portion of the village near MC Donald Way, that area out there for us. And then as well, so we're going to remove the minimum dwelling unit size of 750 and probably bump that back up to 1,200 with the known intent that the homes out in this area are already that size. So it helps keep the character and intent of that district and region.
Can I recommend, I'd like to go point by point, and I'm going to be relying on the input from this body as a whole on this. So I think as we go, and I know we've worked with 3 members, working through a lot of stuff till tonight, but let's stop with go back to what you just said, and let's solicit input and discussion on each of this. This is one of the most important things this group will provide to staff. And make no mistake, it is this group's vote to make the decision on the future for this topic. It's not going to be staff's, it's not going to be the council's, it's this group. It's that vitally important.
Sure. So I'm going to back up then to lot size, minimum area of 20,000 square feet. We base this number on existing parcels. What our intent is to not create a minimum that parcels cannot already exceed, conform to in the R1 district. So 20,000, that's just shy of half an acre or so in that realm, with a minimum width of 100 feet. Questions, comments on that?
What's the current versus what we have, Kyle? I forgot we had that easy 125 currently. Okay.
Yeah, 125.
Okay.
So our intent then was, after working with a few other members, to bump this back to 125 for minimum width.
To keep it 125.
Keep it
Yeah, and I
125.
think it's important too for the members to know there was one of the missions for Kyle was, because of the 3 classifications we have in R1, R2, and R3, that there needed to be they need to be differentiated within those, so they didn't blend to similar. So those classifications.
So I'm bumping minimum width back to 125 on a current draft I'm working on now. Is there?
And then, yep.
And then leaving the minimum area at 20,000. Again, that was based on a sample of existing parcels in the R1A district to ensure that I'm not creating a standard that those parcels can now not meet. So, all right. And then setbacks, we have right now existing is
40.
Front yard is 40, side is 15, and rear is 40 on the existing. We've proposed to reduce that on this version, but again, I'm not beholden to any of that. So it's again, 40 for front yard, 15 for side, and 40 for rear under current standards. Reducing setbacks would allow for a larger building envelope on a property. So it'd allow you to site your home, utilize more of the property, not so much for coverage, but in where you can locate your structure. And the building code, unless you meet fire separation, and I might defer to Mr. Mallory on that, is standard 10 feet separation too. So hence our side yard of 10 feet for each. And that would be measured from property line. Questions, comments on proposed at 25, 10, and 30?
I mean, I know we spoke about this a little bit. I'm not opposed to changing those, because we're kind of like almost the minimum effective dose here. And then, like we were talking about, an HOA may push you back, right? So all the houses are in a row and you don't have, some people high up in a yard and some people staggered back and forth. So I'm okay with that. Like you said, it kind of, you can utilize more of an envelope. Maybe you can put a front porch on, like things that have held people back on their property before. This gives them a little bit more leeway within their 20,000, their half acre, and 125 feet wide, right? So I'm okay with that.
All right, thank you. Maximum building height, so in stories would be 2 and then 35 feet, typically measured from grade to, depending on how we establish it, midpoint of the roof or the top of the roof if it's flat, or average grade. I know some homes, depending on the elevation change, may have a walkout, so it's typically taken by the average grade. 35 feet still pretty significant for a 2-story structure, so. But allows for different types of roof pitches and design as well, so. Maximum percentage for lot cover is at 30, so that would be if your minimum lot size is 20,000, you're at 6,000 that you can cover with a structure. And that would include any structure, so your home, garage, sheds, anything else that gets added to it.
So that would be accessory buildings as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Okay.
Total for the property is 30%. Questions, comments, concerns on that?
We didn't have a percentage on the last one, did we?
We do. I don't have it in front of me.
The original one that's in there now is what Mr. Schenkel was referring to.
No, Matt, it is no standard for the R1, so no maximum lot coverage.
Okay. All right.
This wouldn't affect any houses right now. No one's over that you've surveyed over that 30.
No, and they'd be considered illegal non-conforming.
Okay.
Just means they couldn't, if they're already at 6,000 or whatever the template you said is of the 30% for that, it'd be 30% of the parcel itself. So if you're above that, then you would then need to seek a variance. But again, if your minimum
What are
parcel
the advantages to putting the percentile maximum on it?
reduces the impervious surface you could have on a property, reduces stormwater management runoff, keeps some green space out there. You're not paving the entire thing. You're not building from property line to property line.
Is that a standard percentage with other communities?
We see it's probably everywhere from 20 to 30%. So, I mean, yes, it,
So it's on the higher end,
yeah,
on the average?
yeah.
It's still pretty high. You think it's 30% of 20,000 is last one.
Yeah, oh, I agree. I mean, it's interesting to me that they didn't have a percentage max before.
Probably an oversight that we didn't think of.
Yeah.
The only ones I'm thinking about are like those houses off the Mill Pond down, I think Mill Street that like butt into Washington. They're so tiny, their property is, and then like they were built as bungalows, but everyone like lives in those year round, right? Could some of those be non-conforming now, or still probably not?
They're not R1.
I think
They're R2.
they are R2. Okay, okay. They're yellow. Yep, I see it.
The only spot we have in the village that's R1 is the housing development.
Yep, you're right. Instead, yep, okay.
We can reduce it to 25. I mean, it really is up to you.
I'm okay
up to
with
you
that.
guys. I mean, in part with how high construction costs are right now, I don't see a lot of significant investment going to 30%.
But we can leave it at the 30% recommendation.
And then,
Wants more, they're gonna buy more land. Can afford it.
and then we're looking at minimum floor area for the dwelling unit. The recommendation was to change that to 1,200 compared to the 750. So, you know, still having that character out there in that area of a larger footprint.
And again, we're right now just talking R1.
And that doesn't prevent someone from going larger, it just means that you can't go below that.
And if somebody's HSA wants to make it 14 or 15, that's on them. They can't make it smaller, right? They can't lessen the standard, but they can increase it.
So HOA documents are gonna be a completely separate entity from us in that regard.
Right, I'm just for the crew.
We're the minimum, essentially. They can make a stipulation that's stricter than ours, but not less or more lenient, correct? An HOA? They can go stricter but not more lenient. I think that's what Bill's asking.
HOA can't say you could do 600 feet.
When we say it's 1,200, right? They can say though, like it's 1,350 for all of the houses in our, okay.
And that would be built into their master deed and
Yep,
everything
yep,
else. too,
okay.
yeah. So. All right. And then that next provision down there, we need to clean up and amend, but that was more to capture any properties that are considered non-conforming right now. It just offers reduced setbacks. That'll play more into our, probably more the downtown core region of homes if they're considered a, you know, property that doesn't have enough width frontage. So that one, we're going to rework so we can move past that. Any questions on the district standards for the R1? And then working with Mr. Mallory, so then Christian on page 9, his insight was also to include additional regulations that may be applicable to the zoning districts in order to make it more of a kind of one-stop shop for what the provisions or those stipulations are for those districts, which is why we've included the off-street parking requirements as a reference. We'll also have a separate off-street parking chapter itself, but this is just a reference. So if you're looking to build in the R1, you have a lot of the pertinent information right there in that district itself, instead of having to flip through 5 different chapters. Jim, anything further on R1 you'd like to add?
No, I'm
Okay.
good.
Okay. R2, Christian, page 10, thank you, is considered what we're proposing single and 2-unit residential. This will most likely encompass a significant portion of our village in that regard. Again, we've gone, want to go through permitted uses too, Jim? Or, I mean, or do you want to work on the dimensional standards?
Well, both. I just want to make sure we give the opportunity for the members to have input as we go through this. We're really R1, R2, and R3, and then we'll talk a component of second floor in our downtown commercial district are most significant to me to get that feedback and input from each of you.
So in this one, which will be different than standard, is allowing duplexes by right. That's a permitted use in the R2. And that will have a play on the next page once we get there for minimum unit sizes. But that is a divergence from what we currently have in our standards. And again, what the intent is to offer additional housing opportunities within our existing housing stock by allowing a duplex by right in the community. And then very similar uses for permitted uses with additional conditions such as the R1, as well as special land uses. So any questions, concerns on permitted uses.
I just want to call to everyone's attention on the commission, if you look at Vicksburg, the majority of our residential space is the R2 district. So as you're kind of mentally driving through the Vicksburg proper, just kind of close your eyes and envision what that housing stock is, and that's what we're describing in R2 here. So just as you're reviewing and thinking about suggestions or questions for Mr. Mucha, that's the easiest way to kind of think about it and provide any context.
No further questions on that page. Page 11, our district standards. So minimum area of 7,200 square feet. We pulled this from our current R1C standards as well. This came into play a couple years ago when Allen Edwin was coming forward with their new housing development, Homestead Centennial. They had to meet the 7,200 square foot lot size. All of theirs did, they exceeded that, but this is what we based it on, knowing kind of what the development patterns were. And then from there, a minimum width of 60 feet. Now, as indicated earlier, once we get to it at the bottom, there is gonna be provisions for any lots that do not meet this standard, because there will be a lot that will not meet 7,200, especially in the older housing stock. We have additional provisions that allow for still growth and relief from strict rigid interpretation of this. Questions, concerns on area and width?
And this one is, the minimum area is similar to what we currently have, right?
In the
Proposed,
R3, yes.
yes, okay.
Alan, that neighborhood's currently R3. Are we gonna change it to R2? Is that the intent?
So the intent with this is we're gonna look at
Okay.
reclassifying.
Okay, 'cause I think,
Or can you explain that again?
Yeah, so we have right now 5 residential districts, R1, R2, R2A, R3, and R4. So if we look at condensing these down to 3 residential districts, then we will have some that will overlap into other standards. Unless the commission would like us to create then that, keep the R2 closer standards.
In those reclassifications, that doesn't put us into non-conforming with those, does it?
No, because we'll have provisions in here, Mr. Mallory, that allow for still growth in those existing districts. So if someone wanted to put a porch or addition on a deck, they would then be subject to that asterisk provision down there below, which
Okay.
Indicates if you don't meet the current standard, then you're gonna fall under these additional regulations instead.
so I guess what I was getting at is that R2 is still this doesn't affect the Allen Edwin neighborhood. But
So
it does
that's-
help, like a year ago or so, we tried to get some of these non-conforming into this, and this kind of helps accomplish that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Our other challenge is right now, we haven't mapped any of these districts out. So we're working with kind of a blank map on how we'd like to lay these districts out. So once we have the district standards the way we'd like, the district titles, the districts themselves, then our team will work with Mr. Mallory and others to map out where this will be. And if we find during that process that we need to look at amending this and adding another residential district, we can do that too.
Okay, but I think it's still, I think it's still correct that 72, it's like 0.16 of an acre, and there's a lot of, especially the older homes in the village itself, like across the street from the high school, across the street from here, they're in that size a lot.
Yes. Or less, which is why we have that provision yep, below. That says, well, the minimum area for newly created lots is 7,200. Again, key there, newly created lots. All lots over 4,000 square feet shall be considered conforming and buildable. For those parcels of record that do not meet the minimum width and or area at time of adoption of this ordinance, the following reduced setback dimensions shall apply. So if you are under 7,200, then you will be kicked to these new provisions down here.
Kyle, a 4,000 square foot lot is like a 20 by 20 lot. But our front yard setback and rear setback are 15 feet. So we'll have like a negative house.
More than 20 by 20, that's only 400.
sorry?
It's 20 by 20 is 400, Matt. So,
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm not mathing tonight.
it's all right.
All right.
So then on the generalized standards for any new lot, our minimum setback for front yard would be 20 feet, which is more consistent with what we amended last year. One side proposed for yard at 10, the other at 5, allowing for that shift in the building envelope. So it means you have to maintain 10 feet on one side. You get to pick what side you want to be 10 feet on, and the other is 5 feet. So again, allowing for a little bit of a flexibility in siting it on the horizontal, if you're looking at the parcel. And then rear yard at 25, which again is very similar to what we looked at last year.
I mean, in essence, what this is just allowing greater density for the ability to build more affordable housing and create that, that opportunity. So
Yes.
I think as the commission, as you're reviewing this and thinking about that, you know, R2, we do have R3 coming up, so just kind of be mindful of these setbacks and just how close these homes will actually be together.
How I kind of looked at this, I was on a kind of a subcommittee for this, is almost like a stair-step pattern where R1 is like kind of the biggest lot, the biggest house in essence, right? Biggest setbacks, all those things. R2 is going to be a little bit less, potentially with the ability to be more affordable. R3 is even going to be smaller requirements, right? You know, smaller minimums, right? They could build smaller things there. So in my mind, it was like we create three distinct districts, right? We're still protecting, you know, R1, which our village doesn't have a ton of. There's a lot of space for it, but there's not a ton of it right now as it stands. But we're going to protect those, you know, essentially two areas to the south. And then the majority of our village would be this, which as it stands, correct, Kyle, what you've proposed is very close to what we have, right? So we are going to not be out of I can't think of the word tonight.
Conformity.
Conformity. Conformity for that. And then as you'll see in the next one, it's going to be like kind of the entry level step, right? That first step into buying a home is going to be the next one.
And then similar to R1, the height and feet in stories, so 2 stories, 35-foot height. Maximum percent lot coverage is 35, again, higher because of smaller lot sizes, so. Questions on lot cover? And then if not, the minimum dwelling unit size for a single unit would be 900. We modified it Friday. And then a 2-unit, we would maintain at 600. So if it's a duplex, you're gonna have 6 and 6, so a 1,200 square foot total property minimum. But the unit itself will not be less than 600 square feet.
So kind of, again, to get my analogy, single unit on the last one was 1,200. We've now pushed this one to
900.
900, and then we'll see in R3 it will be lower, right? To go, I think we skipped percentage on this one. I think I jumped the gun on that. So on Mill Street, some of these I feel like are at or above their 35%, right? In maximum percentage of build. I wouldn't be opposed to maybe raising that a bit.
Mr. Mallory did request today from our team to do some additional analysis of structures, so I have reached out to the county planning department, seeing if we can get some data layers for existing structures, then we can do some of that further analysis as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to know how many actual structures are in R1, how many are in R2 and R3 currently?
Okay.
And then once we get that, then I can have our team run based on the dimensional size of those structures and how they're laid out compared to the parcel size of maybe what percentage that is.
A lot of math.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you think about the percentage of lot usage, you're really digging into like multifamily, and that's a special land use, but it's not a permitted use under this. So I think that's probably one of those things that kind of goes hand in hand with that is if you're looking at more percentage of the lot being used, you're probably setting the standard more for multifamily developers.
Okay. That tracks.
Questions on R2 generally or further? Now, I'm not beholden to any of these standards. They're flexible up to the commission, just trying to give us a starting point of what to consider, so. Okay. And the same thing, page 12 is just the off-street parking requirements, so that way it's readily available. And then 13, Mr. Kissinger, is a little bit different than what you were indicating. This district, the multi-unit residential, was what we based it on in October of looking at the different classifications and proposed districts to explore. So the R3 would be our multi-family.
Okay.
Or multi-unit in that regard.
Okay.
Kyle, sorry, can we go back to the off-street parking real fast? I'm seeing that there's a residential multi-unit here. It's two spaces per dwelling unit or apartment. That feels kind of high to me. Like for an apartment, it seems like if the minimum threshold is what we're trying to set here, one space feels appropriate. But I guess looking for feedback from you as well as the commission on that.
In no way do I want to have a property overparked. We also just understand that multi-unit complexes, there's probably 2 adults both driving. We can, to an extent, let the market decide as well how many spaces. I'm fine with that. Again, it's a starting point of where we'd like to go.
I just feel like that would be a kind of a
To have those
hardship.
be one space?
I'm sorry,
To have those listed out as one space?
just the residential
Right.
multi-unit.
Just playing devil's advocate, if you do that, if the developer decides that, hey, we're just gonna meet the minimum, then there's no place for any visitor parking. And if you do have 2 people there, like, where do they park? Like, the developer is gonna make that decision to take as much space up to build more units, wouldn't they?
So a little protection.
So I think it's protecting against that being able to happen.
So then, Nick, to your point, we could also look at, I know this is diverging a little bit, but every so many units, you have to add an extra space. That's another thought.
Can you do fractions?
We can, and that's
Right.
listed
I
down
mean,
below too.
does it average out, right? Like,
So if you did 1.5 spaces, then you would, depending on how many units it fell to, we would just bump to the next whole number. So, on that. And that's something we can continue to look at behind the scenes and then come back with.
can do one, like, really,
So 1.5 could be an option.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I wonder if you could do that.
Why don't you play with that?
Yeah, that's fine. And then we kept residential single unit at 2 spaces per dwelling unit and duplex as well, especially certain neighborhoods in the village when there's 4 or 5 cars and a little challenging. So this way, at least we can try to help steer to having at least 2 spaces for vehicles in that regard. So.
Okay.
And these will be probably modified as we go through the parking section too, not tonight, but later on, so. And then R3, unless there's any other questions on that, is the multi-unit residential. And that, comes to permitted uses, again, childcare, home, offering up that availability. Duplexes as a permitted by right, and then multi-unit permitted by right. And then all the other uses are listed out in the rest of the residential districts, so.
So you're saying even in this residential unit zone, that we would not permit or even through special land use have single family availability in this?
Not for the multi-unit.
Okay.
We want to steer single unit to those appropriate districts.
Okay.
So
Otherwise,
based on our current map, sorry, my brain was working off our current map, we will have to rezone, aren't it?
we will be
The
adopting a
Centennial.
new zoning map for the village with
Yes,
this.
okay. Yep.
And right now, there's a handful of parcels that are multifamily in the village, so,
So this is the brown one.
yes. On the existing map, this is the,
This is 4, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah. But Matt, to your point, our intent then is for this district to help drive those higher unit counts in that area.
Okay.
Keeps it a bit more harmonious with the use itself. Again, dimensional standards, keeping that at, similar 7,200 with 60 feet of frontage. And I'm basing this on known available land in the village of where this could potentially go. Also knowing that we are very limited on, we'll say, vacant parcels right now in the village, so. Any concerns with the area or width? Not beholden to this, but just knowing the existing, geographical layout of our village and the parcels. Front yard setback of 35 feet, that'd be from property line to front of building minimum. And again, some of this may dictate a larger parcel anyway, so. And then for the side yards, we do have asterisks there where if it's proposed anyway, if you're adjacent to another property zone that's similar, side yard setbacks shall not apply. Building code would apply, but our zoning regulations would not. But if you're not adjacent to a other R3 district, you would have a 20-foot setback requirement, is what we're proposing with that asterisk for side yards.
God, why would the front yard setback be greater in a multifamily zone where we allow more percentage of the lot to be covered than our other residential units or residential zones?
Counting for parking. No, I don't think you want to get into it tonight, but there are provisions and ways we can get it where you have parking on the rear of the building, and then you could have a building closer to the front property line, but that's a different design topic and not so much for tonight.
Okay.
But Mr. Jacob, that might be a, conversation you as a group have at a different date to determine would you like to see any, future multi-units laid out? Do you want to see parking in the front? Do you want them to stick it behind the building so you're not having to see a sea of asphalt? It's a valid question, which then leads on to further design element questions, but I think you want to go there tonight per se, so. But it's something to consider in the future, so.
Yeah, well, I'll just say for the record, I would personally like to see parking tucked in the back and keep kind of the road frontage feel as residential as possible through the village. So let it be known.
Park in the back.
It does create more of attractability, it does create more of a walkability community, putting parking in the rear, making those buildings more closer to a sidewalk or a shared youth pathway. There are a lot of benefits to doing so. So we can definitely explore that if there's an interest from the commission. Okay. Rear yard would be 30, again with the intent to have some kind of common open space for a multi-unit development. Keeps it also away from any maybe districts that aren't zoned R3 or will be zoned R3, so that way it's to an extent a siting consideration. So if you're going 3 stories, you don't have a 3-story building 5 feet from your property line. It does space it out a little bit, so it doesn't feel like you are being claustrophobic with that. So having that higher. So again, 3 stories or 40 feet for the height would be what we're proposing for the R3 or the new R3 multi-unit development. Mr. Schenker, I
Kyle,
think-
do
yeah.
you see a lot of like apartment buildings in your portfolio, like in Southwest Michigan, that are beyond 4 feet or 3 stories?
Kalamazoo has a lot.
They have like they're downtown though, like corridor. Okay, but like I'm trying to even think like Portage doesn't even have theirs is about 3 as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I can tell you
I was
as
gonna
a
say you're next to-
developer, 35 feet is pretty tall.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if-
and
if-
40 is like it's big.
It's gonna feel a lot bigger. So it definitely depends on how close you're standing to that, right? Like, so you wanna make sure that, you know, setbacks are appropriate, so you can get kind of distance away from each other. But, you know, I was gonna bring up that, personally, I'd like to see us stick at 35 feet across the board for a height. I just, Vicksburg, I don't think Vicksburg's gonna be the 5-story, you know, downtown
Yeah.
development stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So if we're gonna find areas for these multifamily zones, it's most likely going to be tucked in R2 zoning. People aren't gonna love having a code where it's 35, 40 feet neighbors and blocking out the sun.
And you can build 3 stories with 35 feet.
It'll need to be a flat roof or a mansard roof, but you can build it.
Okay.
Last thing, I might defer to Mr. Mallory on this, but the rule of thumb was 10 feet per story. I don't know, is that?
I think so.
Okay.
So 35.
But
I'm okay.
You,
Googled, you know, building stuff.
you can do 9.5 with some very efficient utility tucking.
Yes. So then with
I just
that,
need to know what the rules are, right?
We will push it.
we are proposing, 70%, but the second asterisk in there, that does include other impervious surfaces, so the parking lot, the sidewalks, and so forth. So yes, it's a divergent from our other districts. It is higher, but we are accounting for impervious surface on this district where we have not for others, for like parking lots, sidewalks, and driveways. So this means you could pave 70% or put, again, any structure up to 70% of that parcel. With the other 30% intended for open space, green space, landscaping, whatever else happens to be out there.
So Kyle, I want to kind of preface this next section a little bit to the commission. The subcommittee had quite a bit of conversation on Member Kissinger's comments of the step ladder approach, and looking to get your feedback on minimum single-story square footage. You know, again, when you're thinking about kind of the most efficient way to build a home, the square footage is a consideration. So want to just get your feelings on 700 feel small enough as that minimum threshold. Again, 500 square foot, yes, 600 square foot, those are small spaces, but it's worth having that discussion now when we're considering setting that minimum threshold.
I've actually thought about that since our meeting, and I would be okay with even smaller, just based on almost like the tiny home kind of structure, right? Like if someone wanted to build 10 tiny homes on a piece of property that, was 4 acres in the village, that something with a footprint of like 400 might work, right? If it's hitting setbacks, if it's, doing those types of things, right?
Be in R2 then, right, not R3, R3 is more for apartment buildings.
No, it would be an R,
So fall in.
So R3
Is
is
gonna-
what we're on right now, and
which is the old R4, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so that's where I'm saying this one, we could maybe lower those even
So
more.
for this one with the intent, what you're talking about, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, we need to lower them even more than what we talked about before.
it's our exposure with this and working with other building officials that really, they don't recommend anything less than 400 as a bare minimum because of the need in the building code for cooking facilities, sleeping facilities, cleaning facilities, and so forth. So getting anything less than 400 is very challenging by building code. So.
Yeah, looking to get feedback from the commission. I mean, there's no wrong answer here. Just, when you think about what we're trying to achieve, which is that minimum threshold, what's your feelings on 400 square feet, 500 square feet as a minimum single-story building?
Per unit, I want to clarify, per unit.
Per unit, yeah.
Per unit.
I mean, I think it allows for some creativity, when it comes to, building homes. I think the way things are starting to trend is that, the larger homes are not as, it's not as needed now for people.
Appealing, yeah.
Right? So I think if it gives you some creativity as to what you can create, aka the tiny home, and I mean, there's a lot of different reuses of buildings. I think it's, gives you an opportunity.
400, Mr. Schenkel, is more of like a studio flat. It's you're sharing your kitchen area with your sleeping area. That's really what that is.
Well,
Is that reflective of our community, though? I think that's like my question. Like, do we have a lot of people that are wanting a studio
I don't think,
apartment?
I don't know if the want as much as the need, right? In essence, like, I've heard from some other, council members, their children can't afford the 1,200 square foot house in Centennial anymore because they've gone up, our homes have gone up crazy number. So like, it's almost like a necessity to, even if it's not a rental, or if it's like to buy this small home, it might be a necessity, right? Out of necessity, and again, if this is in a HOA or whatever, they can add on, they can say, all right, here's the bare minimum, we might add on 200 square feet to make it a 600 square feet, like minimum kind of thing,
Chad, not for the multi-unit.
Okay.
Just want to
There's
clarify.
no HOAs in those?
I haven't run across any HOAs in
I
a multi-unit.
They can't expand the restriction that the zoning would put on, meaning if the zoning allows for a 400 square foot unit, they can't say no as an HOA, we're going against what the government said, we only want 600 square feet. The zoning of the village would trump that.
Does it? Okay.
Then it's also going to be dependent too on how they propose if it's a site condo or so forth as well, what the master deed calls for. Same thing with what Homestead did. They had a set, the village said, hey, this is our minimum. They came in and said, all right, we'll meet your minimum by a little bit, and then move forward from there. So
I was in the impression that the HOA could make it stricter. They bought the land, say.
Well, it would be part of the
Bought the
review.
land.
They can't do it independently without government approval, the same as we
Right,
did.
so it'd be built, they'd come here, here's our proposal for our area.
Correct.
We want to make it stricter. That would get approved. It's not a random thing where they just.
Right, what I'm saying is they can't independently.
Right.
On their own,
Okay.
have 5 board members all of a sudden say, no, we want,
Right. No, I get
more.
This
it.
is
It would
site
have to
plan.
be like a development of that area,
Yeah.
Yes.
that would go
Yes.
into an agreement.
I'm following.
Yeah, yeah.
An example, like the Huey plat now has, 7, 9 vacant lots. They have their
They have
HOA
an
board
existing
could
HOA.
not change what the zoning is for the remaining lots within that neighborhood on their own.
On their own, but their
Right.
existing HOA can dictate something different than it's zoned for, because it's already existing. So if it was put in place when they did the whole plat,
So Bill, you're talking about a deed restriction.
Right.
yeah,
That's different than zoning. So as Mr. Mallory indicated, when they would come forward, they would, a PUD or something like that, they would then stipulate what they want to do for development wise. And then they would need approval
Right.
from the government.
that's what I'm getting at. If they've already got that set, they've already had that approval.
I'm talking about a future one after
Yeah.
this is put in place. They would need government
They'd come here.
approval.
Yeah,
prior to exceeding.
Yeah,
what-
when they
what
came
it
here with the
was.
plat map or whatever,
Right.
and they said, we're gonna make these restrictions, we'd have to approve those.
Yes,
If they were different than
yes.
what we're talking about. To go back to Rachel's point though about, does this fit within the village? If we were having this conversation in, say, 2007, 2008 hits, this trend is all of a sudden different. So I kinda leaning more towards what I think you're saying, is that some of these things we need to look at what's here in the village and make sure we're creating not changing the village into a different thing.
Well, I mean, in essence, it would be that because we're creating the parameters of the zones and then we would apply the zones to the map, correct?
Yep, and then any new development would be beholden to these standards.
So, yes, it could absolutely change the fabric of Vicksburg.
Rachel, to your point a little bit, what we're hearing from builders is a square foot for a home is averaging, including land, between $250 to $450 per square foot to build new. So, I mean, there's homes in the county that are looking at going for 800 square feet that are gonna be close to 300,000. So, I'm with
That's why I
both
don't own a
Nick
home.
and, yeah. So that's, so trying to help reduce the, need for a larger minimum, which then just in turn drives up cost, so.
Yeah.
But again, this would be for the multi-unit, single units themselves at, again, 700 here. I'm happy to go 400, 500, whatever you guys would like to do, in that regard.
Four,
Yeah.
four, so let's have the draft read 400.
Colin?
Small house, but if somebody wants to live there, go for it.
John, I didn't see your head shake.
I think it's a small home, but you're having multiple homes next to each other, 400, 400, right?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
apartments, are really is what
Be
this is, yeah,
Yeah.
That's the minimum,
yes.
just the minimum. So they can be bigger anyway.
Yeah,
depending
you probably
on
have
lot
some
size.
singles and some doubles.
Yeah, a couple studios, a few,
I mean, if you want studio home, if you want studio living, that's a proposal that you might be able to sell, but we're not in a college town.
Yeah, that's up to the developer, right? Developer has to do the market study, feasibility study, they're gonna have to determine demand for those units and, again, we're setting the floor, we're not setting the standard.
Correct.
So 400?
Yeah, and I'll carry that if the commission's happy with just across the board, and we'll just say floor area minimum per dwelling unit's 400. I'll get rid of the single versus two-story. We'll just make it even across, if that's agreeable with the group.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, and then I've already, well, we've been talking on 15, moved it for, instead of 2 spaces per dwelling unit for the apartments to 1.5. So, to keep that consistent. And then the next section we have, starting on 16, is just manufactured home park. I try not to use mobile home anymore, manufactured house. We don't have anything currently in the village. I don't want to say never, but I don't anticipate seeing that, but weird thing, different things do happen. Mr. Miller, would you like us to go through this one as well?
It's up to the group.
And then a lot of this will also be dictated by the mobile home.
This wouldn't change much from the original.
This is very similar, yeah.
You just call them in manufacturing, still are fine.
Yeah.
Mobile home.
Square footage minimums on it.
There's none. There's zero. Yeah, that's what he said. So there's not one place. The only one
Kyle, I'm
is
not sure that there's a
farmland,
need.
Okay.
right? that
And we'll
could
continue to make
potentially
sure
be
we're refining
built.
that.
This
And then
is
looking at
filled
page
in with
19,
houses now,
Mr.
or
Wines,
it's
if we
being
could, is a
So
C1
there's not-
Village Commercial Mixed Use
Yeah.
District. And this is more of our focus of the, core downtown area as well. Again, with the actual boundaries to be
This is your
determined
guys'
at a later
buildings.
date. But with the intent, And then permitted uses, I haven't missed in here, so I have added under museum, or before museum, just mixed use to make sure it's clear that mixed use is a permitted use by right in this district. And then mixed use will have supplemental standards as well in Article 4 that talk about the minimum square footage of 400 feet for a mixed use. Also indicating that if you're going to have a mixed use, which commercial and residential, residential shall be second and third floor or above, commercial all first floor on that. So those will be additional standards that we'll have in here as well. So with that. But otherwise, we try to, again, encapsulate generalized uses that we might run across, permitted, brew pub, child care centers, that's more the multi-unit facilities, multi-kids for that instead. Residential single unit, we considered this to be second story only, so maybe you have maybe not a commercial site underneath something, it's just vacant, but you could still have a residential unit above on a second floor. Duplex, second story, again for this. Financial institutions, galleries, museums, personal services, that's your barber shops and so forth. Professional services and offices, that's the architect office, other services of that nature. Restaurants and eating establishments, including dine-in and carry-out. Retail operations, we try to be specific with that term to make it very broad, so it would encompass a lot. And veterinary clinics. Uses with additional conditions, again, child care, home, multifamily dwelling unit, second and third floor, so that's if they wanted to have 2 or 3 or 4 units above a commercial facility. Essential services, hotels, less than 20 units or rooms, and then vehicle wash as well in this. Special land uses will include educational institutions, public or private, funeral homes, hotels more than 20 units will be a special land use, open air businesses, places of assembly, recreational facilities, indoors and outdoors as a special land use in this district. Restaurants as a drive-through will be considered special land use. That goes more to help maintain, that you're not having excessive noise from a speaker box, excessive lighting, there's screening and so forth, because you do have a higher, obviously, concentration of vehicles moving in and out. It just requires a little bit more scrutiny than a regular site plan, so that's why it's listed as special land use. Filling station, that's a gas station. Again, that would have additional scrutiny to that type of use than otherwise. And then vehicle repair as a special land use as well in the C1 village commercial mixed use.
Kyle, I have a question regarding vehicle repair. I've not looked forward in the different zones for uses. Is vehicle repair listed in any other C zone?
We have, yeah, C2, and I believe we're also looking at it for the industrial as well.
Okay.
So currently, we're pretty much just, by the existing map, everything's pretty much C2 in the village.
Yes, and then we'll have to coordinate on how we'd like to map this out, with the intent being, is this gonna be more of our downtown area, or are we gonna see the C1 on highway or streets? And that's a conversation we've not had yet with staff for their input, so.
So are we, is this, I can't remember, did you consolidate C1 and C2 into here? and
So
then
because we
C2
had
is
4 commercial districts,
Yeah.
yes, we consolidated from 4 down to 2.
Because C3 and C4 are getting eliminated, right? And we don't really have anything zoned there anyway, I don't
No,
believe.
the only property we have zoned C4 is the former self-serve drive-in and the Trust Shield.
Trust
building,
Shield,
Yeah.
okay.
Kyle,
Yeah.
where would I find like entertainment uses on the list here? Like if I wanted to open up, we have an arcade downtown. Like where would I find?
Recreational. Under special land use.
Okay. Okay. And under special land uses, an owner or developer would just need to prove that they meet the requirements of those
So
use?
special land uses will have additional standards in our ordinance that need to be satisfied in order for the commission to approve.
Right.
Special land uses require public hearing, so everyone within 300 feet would be notified of the request. Special land uses by nature are more intensive of a land use, which then again requires that additional scrutiny. So that's why anything listed with a special land use would need a public hearing and to be notified of the residents or all property owners within 300 feet and a notice published in a local newspaper. So
This is making me think of something that I've thought of before, and I apologize for not bringing it up sooner. So don't hate me, please. The C1 district feels like downtown district to me. That's the essence of what it is. I almost wonder if that's maybe something that we call out specifically in the naming of the zone, as in like a business district or a downtown district versus commercial.
I'm not opposed to that, Mr. Schenkel. My only question would be then if in 5, 10, 15 years, I mean, we'll probably go through multiple iterations. If you want to expand that, where do you draw the line between what you consider your downtown and what you consider commercial? Now, if you as a commission know right now, and I know it's subject to change, that you have a hard limit of where you want that to be and you don't want it to expand, we could do that. That'd be my only initial qualm on calling it a downtown district, in case you want to apply these standards elsewhere. Now, if you don't and you want to have these within a defined area of the village, I'm fine with that too. But having that broader name allows for a little bit more flexibility of where this could be applied within the village. But again, I'm up to you as a commission of how you want to envision that.
Any strong feelings?
So your proposal would include a C1 for like the DDA boundary, and then still like a C2 that could be similar but may sit outside of the DDA boundary?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's the few, right? There's the ones off of Richardson, like the hot pink, the only hot pink one, right? People drive in, some of those over there. I mean, is Lou's in the DDA district?
No.
So there would technically be a different designation.
Yes.
then.
Well, wait a minute, it'd all be commercial, the same commercial zoning.
We'd have two commercials. That's what Matt was asking, Mr.
What I'm
Valerie, is
saying is like have one that's,
focus solely on the downtown region.
they have a very similar outlook.
They have a very similar, but probably a little bit more restrictive for the downtown, right? If you're trying to,
Restrictive in what way?
just protecting the business corridor, the retail aspect of downtown Vicksburg versus it becoming overly commercialized, I guess. It's nuanced, it's not significant, so I don't want you to think like there's a significant
We're trying
change.
to simplify this and adding another commercial zoning classification is,
Is antithetical.
We'd just be keeping
I'm a
one.
retired
We're not-
cop, I'm not sure what that means.
Matt, was your overarching question asking to rename C1 to just downtown commercial? Is that your thought process?
I think
Maybe.
restrictions in a generic high altitude sense could come from the DDA. It wouldn't impact the zoning. I mean, everything in the village would have to meet and conform to the C2 commercial zoning. If there was additional, I don't know if the word's restrictions, but protections on the downtown area, whether that has to come in, downtown signage might be a different requirement downtown than it is out on Highway Street.
I see.
The restrictions of that signage then could be enforced through the DDA.
Correct.
And have that standard as a DDA standard, not a C2 standard.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, is just how prescriptive do we want to be from a zoning standpoint, or do we feel like there is enough protections or oversight from other governing bodies that would protect the,
Yeah, and that's something I think, as we're talking about this body and the DDA, something we can explore of what those protections for the DDA could be to have that look. I knew I'd figure out what that big word meant.
If I could jump to Mr. Mallory's
He's got meta glasses
point
on.
there, and I don't know if he actually realized what he brought up, but signage for the DDA. I know that's a different chapter in here we haven't gotten to, we haven't cleaned it up yet. Is there interest, just preliminary, in having the DDA set its own standards for
Yes.
signage in downtown?
Yeah.
Okay, so I need to make a note of that, so when we do the sign code, that
I think
the
we
DDA
got
district
to
will
the
have its
same
own.
place, just a different way of saying, no matter what, I'll speak for myself. I personally am interested or vested in protecting the character of our downtown so that it remains a downtown and it's focused on retail and consumerism versus anything else.
I like it.
I have downtown business owners shaking their head in the affirmative.
So then, to circle back, Matt, to your question, are we keeping this as village commercial, or do you want to change it to downtown?
I think given our conversation, Kyle, I'm comfortable with leaving it as proposed.
Okay.
And then circling back to the DDA provisions to help tighten up some language there.
Okay. All right. If no more questions on the use types and categories in there, and again, we went over it back in October. I'm now on page 20. Christian, thank you. Similar to what our current commercial standards have, we don't have provisions for minimum lot sizes, widths, front yard, side yard, rear yard setbacks, and that's even currently today too. And then in building height, 3 stories, 40 feet, that would account for some of the, we'll say, structures that may want to get facade improvements that may have, changes to them that, expand the roof or make the roof different. Otherwise, we can leave it at 35 feet across the residential and commercial districts as well.
Most of our downtown stock right now is 2 stories, right? Or is there 3 stories?
There's just two.
2?
What's the cultural arts building? Is that 2.5?
Don't count the basement as a third story.
Above
It's
grade,
above
yeah.
grade.
Right.
Yep.
I'm almost wondering if we should bump this down to 35, because at that point, if a developer wanted to get crazy enough, they could add a story on top and still meet that conformity. Hey,
Money, we can do it.
there's enough money and enough demand, you'll figure it out.
I don't mind.
The fact that you had to do it means that it will happen again. I'm just saying, I think that we're talking about primarily the downtown aspect of this.
Yes.
And for me, 35 feet would feel like inappropriate. Well, so, I mean, I guess that goes to the saying of like, we're allowing 3 stories here. Is this something where the DDA can come back in and talk through?
I'm not comfortable being definitive on that without an opinion from our attorney. But, I mean, what you're looking at is, whatever time frame, 10 years, 20 years from now, if a building is in such condition that a developer, it's more, fiscally responsible, tear that building down and then build up, that is where the third story
That's where you're
could
gonna
come
have it.
in.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I tend to side with the future developer, if that's what the investment meets and the pro forma meets to the growth of the village, why restrict it to 2
Are
stories?
there-
It's been 3 for, what's this, go back to the 70s?
No one's built 3 so far.
Not been a building
that's
been deteriorating
Now, I have a question, just forgive my ignorance, we do have a historical designation on our downtown,
That
correct?
doesn't
That
restrict
won't
it.
restrict it?
There's
Okay,
no requirements.
no requirements, okay.
I mean, is there strong feelings? Not strong feelings, is there feelings that from this commission?
So if we make it 35, and somebody tears down a building and wants to put 3, they could get a variance for that still?
If they want to
have to
exceed
prove a
35
hardship.
feet, yes.
So we're not necessarily saying, no, you can't do it.
Right. But like Matt said, they'd have to prove a hardship.
Yeah.
It'd be more likely they would
So it's
probably.
pretty restrictive either way.
Yeah. And finances.
For
can't
somebody
be an
building a
option.
new building, if they want to do it, it's pretty
Well,
restrictive.
they'd have to.
It makes it
They'd have
hard.
to tear the building down and rebuild it because these buildings are not structured for a 3rd story anyway.
But you can do it.
Huh?
You can do it.
Well, but not,
It's just not.
The question
solid.
I would like, what's people's opinions, why restrict that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause somebody's not gonna come in here and build, with 40 feet, you're not going 5, 6 stories, you're not making this
No.
huge thing.
And this is the maximum. I'm good with that. Jim has shown me the light.
Well, on a practical, we have I can think of 6 lots that I would consider within the downtown area on North Main Street, that if a pro forma worked to put 2 residential levels in the first retail space, could sway a developer versus being restricted to the only 2 levels, but yet not 4 or 5.
So you'd have something similar, you're thinking, like the Walking Mall is an example, they've got retail spaces and above that, a lot of those, there's
Yes,
a couple
count
stories
as a
of
mall.
Right, yep.
residential.
yeah.
Yep.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with it.
And then maximum lot coverage would be 100, and that's common for a lot of our C1 anyway, so. And then we have the parking standards afterwards, which again, we can modify and update once we get into the parking provisions themselves, but. And a lot of these we based on the changes we made last year as well, so. Some I think will reduce restrictions on to make it a little bit more attractive, but. And then, Mr. Mallory, do you want me to go through C2 as well, the commercial corridor briefly, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and I want to talk about the 2nd floor minimum square footage.
Kyle, did you say you were gonna hit the parking spaces on the multi-unit again in C1?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So then C2 would be the rest of the commercial enterprises within the village, in that regard. So it's not within that kind of core downtown per se. Again, we need to map out where these would be at and where best fits, but very, similar use types in here as well that carry over. And then we ask for clarification on, I don't believe we have residential listed currently, if that's something we'd like to add to the C2. Again, our intent was C1 would be the mixed use, commercial, then residential. C2 is more of our filling stations, the shell, and so forth.
I'm okay with the differentiation, right? Like, that mixed use in our downtown corridor makes sense, right? Where those were kind of built for that purpose, right? C2, the new C2 would be purpose-built for business essentially only.
Yes,
And a wide swath, essentially any business,
yes.
but a wide swath of business only.
And the same thing on the setbacks, in dimensional standards, we kept at the, same as a C1. With the caveat that if you're adjacent to a residential district or use, keyword be there, then the minimum side yard shall be 10 feet. Again, trying to give some protection away from that. And we could do the same thing for a rear yard if you would like to have a separation requirement. If you're adjacent to residential.
I guess I'm not understanding why we wouldn't allow residential on the second above grade floor.
In the
in
C2?
We do, don't we?
Not as
Not in the
proposed.
proposed.
Residential was considered for the C1, the downtown region.
No, I think we would want it for C2.
Yeah.
So then that begs a question, then
Why have it?
Well-
Why have C2?
that would then.
No, you're talking about residential on the second floor.
Yes. So C1,
That's in C1, so we already have a place for that. So essentially, we don't need C2 if it has residential too, because it's the exact same thing.
It
You
would be
got-
the same, it would be the same thing.
You've got two of the same.
Well, then we can just combine them.
Yeah, why restrict, is there other differences in C2 than C1, but why restrict? I think we have a business on that
One, yep.
is
Currently.
C1 that rents out an apartment either adjacent or upstairs. I'm just wondering why, again, are we restricting it if it is a two-story
Unit.
thing?
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah,
My
I thought it was
My-
allowed.
Wouldn't that be zone C1 then? If
Yeah,
it's-
my idea
That's
is
what
let's
I'm
just-
saying.
let's just
What,
make it
what is
C1.
the is that the only difference between C1 and C2?
as proposed currently, yes.
None of the uses within the classification, meaning proposed, all the same businesses?
Mhm.
Then what are people's thoughts of just having C1?
Do we even need to put a
So
one? Is it
I
just
think-
C now?
Well, I think that kind of goes back to my question of like, do we create like a downtown zone that's C1 and then the
I think
the
that's more
proposed
work
C1
than having the C1 in the village and then work through the DDA to ensure the look of the buildings, the signage, the character of that area meets the DDA's expectations. And it will also give us opportunities then to get the existing building and business owners' input on what those should be.
Yeah. So we're truly creating kind of the floor requirements
Correct.
in C1.
Especially on signage, I think.
Yeah.
So if we're thinking of what like C2 is trying to restrict, what instances of businesses would we want to disallow a mixed residential use of? Because that's what C2 is doing, right?
Yeah.
It's saying this is only business, not residential. Is there any examples like in town now that we,
There's well, the Trust Shield building, is built so it could add a second level. And conversations originally, and it might have even been in the site plan review, we're talking years ago, were on putting a second story, and if they were to do that, it would be residential for that part of the pro forma.
Okay.
So that would just be in C, what we're considering C1 now?
Yeah, and that's in the DDA district as well.
Okay. I think,
But I'm trying to think of what's existing in C2.
Hot pink is just the Trust Shield building.
Did you
Yeah.
just describe it as hot pink?
Yeah, because it is. It is hot pink.
You're not wrong.
Hot pink.
I think so.
If that's not hot pink. It's late. I need to go to bed.
It is hot pink. Fuchsia.
what I was kind of getting at with my question was like, if there's not a reason for us to restrict, like if there's like a type of business we
red.
don't want in town that we want to say this business can't be here if you're trying to make it a dual residential and commercial,
Mm-hmm.
then if there's not an example of that, I don't know why we need
The designation even
designation for
for a
it.
C.
If we're not
yeah,
trying to
too.
restrict any current properties or current businesses or future businesses, like that we can think of, I don't know why we would need the tighter zone if we're not gonna zone anything with that.
Yeah, I think that if for some reason the village acquired some land and we figured we'd need it more restrictive, we could create it at that time.
Yeah, because right now, there is no C1 currently zoned. It's all C2, and then one property that's C4. We have no C3.
I guess that's where my confusion was, because our conversations has all been in downtown area to create second floor living, which is C2 currently.
Yes,
Which will be C1, as proposed.
yes.
No,
We gotta change the color.
we gotta change it.
That
Hold
color
on,
will be
Red.
changed.
I'll keep working with the adjectives.
But to Jenner's point, though, I thank you for that, sir. It is a good view of it. Is there any potential uses you would not want to see residential above in that? So that's why the C2 comes into play, is to keep residential uses and occupation or occupancy out of those
Is there
businesses.
any areas in the future growth of the village as we sit right now that would be what is the motivation switching from C2 to C1 with the existing map versus just it all being C2 and not having C1?
I think we just rename it.
We did rename it. That's
Yeah.
really what
That's all it is, it's just renamed.
and then expanded some of the uses based on property owner input we've had and stakeholder. So.
Where would be potential growth for what you would be describing as a future C2 district, if that's the way we're leaning?
Highway, East Highway. Our future land use map calls for some mixed use along East Highway.
Still have a mixed use too?
Which is now residential?
Which is currently residential.
So we're not changing that, this, just the master plan identified that as a potential
Yes.
in the future.
Yes.
So that's industrial currently?
No, it's residential.
So that area along, on our future land use map, near highway and the
That's a
school.
future map, that's not the current zoning.
Yeah,
So you're just, because the mill is purple, right, and this one too, but,
The mill's completely different.
yeah.
And that's what needs to be updated actually on this map, is that should be whatever I would,
PUD.
yeah, which is, kind of a bluish green color, it looks like to me, but I'm, I don't know if describe that as hot pink.
So how many of those along highway right now are houses?
a lot of them. I mean, you have, the Shell gas station is commercial,
On
and
that
then,
corner there, yeah, and across the street from that, there's a house or two.
oh, that's homes right there. You have the deli across, Richardson there, heading east further.
So if we created a C2 now, and then in the future,
So that would be an example of the shell, which we know will come in front of this body here in the next few months, is that would be an example of C2
Correct.
or C1.
Well, as it is now, right? But if someone wanted to add a housing addition like onto the shell as part of C1,
Yeah,
because it'd
it-
be mixed use.
Yeah, the difference, I guess, is we've seen the working plans as a staff
Yeah.
that doesn't include that. So in my mind, that would be an example of C2, what we're discussing, because I've seen those plans as in the
No
last
mixed
couple
use,
yeah.
weeks, and I think it's this flight patterned out to come in front of this body in February.
Okay.
And then Jim, probably along Spruce out here too a little bit, might be some C2,
Yeah.
depending how we looked at that.
Yeah.
Again, differentiating between that
Yeah,
more
no, I
focused-
see then it becomes, yeah.
And we're saying
I think it's
no-
more like the residential, it is where it doesn't need to be
In it, okay.
residential component to it.
Yes.
Where it'll be nice having the C1 that does allow it.
Hate to draw attention, but I need to excuse myself. I have a call overseas. Just, do I need to do anything as far as roll call or anything, or excuse myself?
Coming back?
Huh? No, I gotta go home for this call, so, yeah, I need my computer, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So that's C2 then, again, is the critical difference being we're not allowed residential in that area. Okay. And then,
We're keeping those, right?
Yeah, but they're,
Verify what we just did.
yeah, but it's not gonna be the area that's highlighted right here. Basically, all the red minus the shell is gonna be C1.
Yep.
yep,
So your building will be, it's currently C2, would be C1, and would allow residents in it, yeah.
Let us know when you put that second story on.
yeah.
I have a second story on
Yeah.
that.
And then, any questions further on C2? If not, I'll highlight the industrial briefly. And that, Christian, starts on
Did
20.
we talk though about the square footage in that area for second floor?
Yeah, that was 400.
Okay, and did we get feedback on that in the same? Okay.
Right along with the same thing we talked about.
Yeah, just reducing it from 600 and give more options. Okay, thank you.
All right. And then industrial starts on 27. Percolating with another colleague of mine in order to help, we'll say, reduce potential barriers to investment in the industrial district. And based on what we have listed for different permitted uses in here, some of which are more commercial oriented and others that are industrial, there is a inclination internally for us to consider this maybe enterprise, which would allow for both commercial aspects as listed and industrial. Because some of these, like financial institutions, are more commercial, but we're allowing them in this district to expand potential uses and development of sites. You know, vet clinics are considered here professional services that might not be fully industrial, but are office-based. So we have considered internally classifying this from industrial to enterprise, and then keeping the less restrictive provisions of the I-1 as our base. Unless the commission thinks we need two different industrial districts.
So what, again,
Yeah. So we're
So if we're interested in allowing flexibility in the industrial district.
with
the
restrictions of I-1?
Yes.
What you
Yes. Yep. So right now proposed for you is an I-1 and an I-2.
Yeah.
Our current ordinance has 3 industrial districts, but only 2 are mapped. So we're already reducing that down to get rid of the,
Unused.
yes, onerous. Another thought our team had today was to reduce that even further, make a single industrial district, call it enterprise, because we allow some more commercial-oriented uses, such as financial or professional offices, and classify that from industrial to enterprise, which allows for a greater expansion of what could go in those districts as well.
So in theory, this would be kind of the zone that would be applied to the industrial park.
Yes,
Okay.
The new one.
yes.
As well.
Yeah. Okay. So we're consolidating 3 I's into 1.
Yes.
And
And then we would
those-
keep the I-1 setback provisions as proposed, which are, Christian, thank you, Christian, has them up there. 25,000 square feet is the minimum area. A lot of our properties right now in the industrial park are over an acre, but this is forward thinking, so if you did want to have smaller sites for smaller,
Remind us what,
This is the same, we just changed the setbacks on industrial. Is this the same as we just did 18 months ago?
similar, Jim, yes.
What's different?
I think we reduced the lot size.
to make it more flexible for someone.
But the setbacks are the same?
Yeah, let me find that. Yeah. Because right now, in the I-1 district, it's a minimum lot frontage of 200 feet.
We're
I-2,
talking the Legion Park Industrial?
that is I-2.
Okay.
So that's a 100-foot frontage.
Okay.
The minimum lot area for the I-2 was 25,000, so keeping that same.
Yeah, but I'd like to, what is the Legion Park, I-1?
That's I-2.
It's 2.
Yeah, it's 2 currently.
It's currently 2.
So
Yes.
that's the only industrial park we have.
Yes.
Let's talk about that first.
Yeah.
And we put a lot of energy 18 months ago into making that competitive.
Yes.
So it's not going back.
No, it's not. I'm not proposing that.
Progressive, I think.
All right,
Keeping it competitive.
okay.
Yeah, so it's currently at 100 minimum lot frontage. It's now at 75. 25 and 25 for minimum lot area, 45 for structure height, 50% for max building coverage. It does go from 50 setback to 45 setback. And then side yards stay at 25, and then rear yard stays at 25. So it's pretty much the same thing.
We mention, I thought we
Is
mentioned.
that though the original, the setbacks, is that the ones that we changed it to 18 months ago?
Yes. Yeah, because right now, Jim, the maximum building height is 45 feet for the industrial park. Maximum coverage is 50%. And then the front yard setback's 50.
I wanna table that section.
Yeah.
I think the lot coverage is more than 50% on what we had brought forward to the planning commission and council.
The I-3, it went to 60%.
I'm talking about the existing Legion Park, and we specifically in that process only talked about Legion Park. And I'm pretty confident that the lot coverage was in excess of 50%, and we reduced the setbacks down. So I want to table that conversation till I can review the action that was taken 18 months ago. We only have the one real lot left buildable in Legia. And I think we reduced the parking requirements as well in that process.
Okay.
Let's just make sure we're on the right numbers. We'll report back on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think what we're getting at is we have the potential to take 3 eyes down to 1 eye.
I agree with that. I don't have a problem. I just don't want to, I want to be 100% accurate that we have changed nothing in Legia Park with what we know is coming into Legia Park based on the process we went through previous.
Yeah.
And I think Jim's statement about making it as attractive as possible is the key.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we went through that process and brought it to the planning commission and council to, especially with what we know is gonna be developed on that last lot. So, it won't take us long, we'll have it done this week to make sure.
Yeah.
And if that, we'll move forward with this draft. And ultimately, this draft, I believe we have flight pattern to become official February, don't we? To have the final draft provided to the planning commission in January, have it published, and a vote at the planning commission in February.
Yeah, we can do that.
Busy 3 months for the planning commission.
Just want it noted how efficient all the other meetings have been. We're making up for that now. Kyle, what else do you have for us tonight?
I mean, we can continue to go through some other items. It's really more of cleanup. Article 4, and I'm just Christian at the table of contents now. We don't need to dive into too much of this. So Article 3 will be the table of permitted uses. We're just condensing really all the districts into a single classification, similar to that chart table we provided a couple months ago. So that just lists out all the different permitted uses within the village based on their district. Article 4 will be uses, and that's if we have additional considerations or conditions that need to be set for those different standards. A lot of those are being carried over from our ordinance or being enhanced to be remove restrictions. Article 5 covers general provisions. That's administrative regulations, accessory buildings and items, lighting, landscaping, if there's anything in that regard, trash removal collection. So the other site development criteria will be under general provisions. Article 6 is nonconformities, which is what we worked on again in the past 18 months. Big key takeaway is if it's a nonconforming structure, it can be rebuilt to its existing footprint. We removed, the past 18 months, the provision that capped it at a certain percent of the assessed value. So that's been removed. That will be carried over into this new version. Allows for, again, rebuilding if a structure is destroyed to its existing footprint. Off-street parking and loading requirements we're taking from the work we did last year and putting that into Article 7. Article 8 has landscaping and screening requirements that we'll go through. A lot of those will be generalized to help protect residential uses against commercial and industrial. Nothing too onerous. It's not going to be a 40-page document for landscaping and buffering requirements, but more highlight on our existing requirements of like an 8-foot fence between commercial and residential. Article 9 talks about walls and fences, so that'll have maximum height stipulations in there, which again will carry over from some of our current standards. Material and appearances, so you can't put up a tarp as a fence. We're trying to create some generalized standards in that regard. Signs, our team's working on that. We're going to look at to make sure that we're compliant with Supreme Court action. I'm going to probably modify that to reduce the classification of signs to go from a lot of like what they call like roof signs, development signs, real estate signs, to freestanding wall and maybe an overhanging. That gets us rid of any kind of content considerations, keeps us compliant with court cases. Article 11 is performance standards. That's pretty typical across the board. Article 12, which we've started to look into, is planned unit development. We're going to build on what we have currently and just provide more provisions and protections for the village for any kind of PUD moving forward.
And there's only one that exists today, right?
Yes, that I'm aware of.
Yeah, just so everyone's aware, that's the mill.
Article 14 will be administrative organization, how the planning commission operates, how the zoning board of appeals operates, how council, so forth. Rules of construction for 15, and then 16 will be definitions, and that's going to be expanded upon compared to our current definitions, so we'll have more content in there. So that's the overview. Next month we'll look at probably signs a little bit just to go through with the caveat now that we're going to indicate that the Downtown Development Authority has the ability to regulate their own provisions, so. And then we'll probably talk a little bit about the PUD as well, but again, that is gonna be more standardized language to help offer protection for the village as a whole, so. And then I know Mr. Mallory is working with his graphics logo team as well, so once we have that confirmed, we'll then incorporate that color scheme into the new ordinance as well, so.
What was that for?
It'll be a new color scheme
Oh,
based
brand
on the
standards.
vision or the logo branding of the village. So we'll incorporate those elements into the print copy once those are known, so.
Did you change the colors, Jim?
Not yet, but it's all flight pattern. The branding company or the company that we engage those services should be the first quarter of 26 that are presented to the council. So, and hopefully the website is up by February, the new website, so it is moving forward.
Nice.
Thanks, Kyle, I know this, and thank everyone on this board. I know it's tedious, but we want this input, and we want, I mean, I think Member Cox said it, a lot of times we don't have items that are as long-lasting and or as important as this discussion has been. So I truly appreciate Kyle and his team for all the time they've put into this, and also with their patience with myself and the different ideas and questions, so thank you.
Of course.
One last thing for you, Kyle. You mentioned you're gonna look at the lot sizes throughout the village,
Yes,
and potentially there could be another R zone coming out of that.
we'll have to see, I think, Bill, to go.
I think it'd be worth considering, just so we have a more of a high end, and we have a more reasonable one. I think we should have one in the middle maybe, but I'd like to see the data, see how that comes out.
Yeah, and we'll work with staff and probably the subcommittee as well to an extent, once we get that done. And that's gonna be, again, dependent on if I can get the data readily available from the county. If not, I'll have
Yeah,
a
good luck.
colleague, she'll start going aerial imagery and just start counting houses. So I won't have square footage that way, but at least she'll be able to know what properties are improved in the different districts, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Moving on in our agenda this evening, we have the DDA agenda, which we have some grant requests, and I'll pass it over to staff to cover these.
Yeah, and this is just discussion points and timeline. We did, with the public improvement grant process, had received 3 grant applications, both for probably seeing the construction at Jaspers and the improved facade, as well as Vickers. Also, the 117 South Main is where Zoja is located to the rear. Just to let this board know, there will be, prior to the next meeting in January, where the chairman of the planning commission, the village president, myself, and the village attorney will meet to ensure it meets the criteria, and then we will present as an action item in January what staff recommendations are, reference these 3 grants. And it is our hope that we'll be able to support all 3. But look for that in January. Also, Christmas in the Village is this Saturday, pretty significant each year. These downtown streets will begin to be closed at 9 a.m. I do have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday afternoon with DPW and the police department to finalize a lot of that logistics. The tent where Santa Claus is, which was usually on Main Street between Prairie and the Alley, is not going to be there. It'll be in the parking lot that abuts Oswald Park to the north, where we had it for the Iceberg Fest. Nice. And we'll have other items in that space on Main Street. but the entire downtown will be blocked off as normal for only pedestrian traffic. It's been a interesting year, as it is in Michigan, here since probably November 1st, and all the best laid plans and tabletop exercises change when you have early snowfalls and a bunch of leaves still hitting the ground. But you'll see the Christmas card lane will certainly be completed, as well as the downtown holiday banners will be up, and some hand shoveling will be taking place downtown to make sure that we have all these areas clear and ready to go Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. I'll be on with Ken Lamphere tomorrow morning at 9:10 a.m. Pitching out, making a good, hopefully, pitch to bring people into the Christmas in the Berg event Saturday. So, any questions at this point? I wanted to conclude. I did talk at the village council meeting. I also did want to inform the planning commission of a fairly significant situation that the village has uncovered. But I wanted you all to be aware, over the past several weeks, I've been working to clarify concerns related to the 2025 tax roll prepared by officials in Schoolcraft Township. I initiated meetings with township officials in late October and again in mid-November. During those discussions, I became aware that Schoolcraft Township had identified concerns with the tax roll they prepared potentially this year as early as February 25. And I also have learned that it could go back to issues that were 4, 5, or 6 years ago. I also learned that the township had engaged in a new assessing firm, which began to conduct a comprehensive review of the tax roll throughout the summer months of 2025. And that written communication occurred between Schoolcraft Township officials and certain Village of Vicksburg property owners during the late fall of 2025. Communication that village officials were neither made aware of nor included in. At this time, the village has only limited information regarding the nature and extent of these potential issues and impact on the village of Vicksburg, which could be well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Out of an obligation to protect both the village and our residents, we have sought the counsel of our village attorney, Catherine Kaufman, and will continue to gather all relevant facts surrounding the tax roll prepared by Schoolcraft Township. I want to assure the village council, the planning commission, and the public that we are treating this matter with the utmost seriousness and, most importantly, transparency. And it is my expectation that Schoolcraft Township officials will now do likewise as well. As additional information becomes available, I'll keep the council and planning commission fully informed and provide timely updates to our community. So, fairly, one of the most disappointing tenures in the past 10 years of employment with the village of Vicksburg, but more to come.
Thanks, Jim. All right, the time has come for member comments. Do we have any comments from the commission?
I've got some, well, thank you for your work. I appreciate that. It was very helpful. I look forward to what you come back. And then I've got some questions for Jim as well.
Sure.
Curious, the car wash that's going in across the street.
I'm sorry.
The car wash?
Yes.
Is that still slated for the spring?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the parking lot, is there any update on the parking lot?
Parking lot, Frederick Construction is the owner's rep for the village of Vicksburg on that. Completing paperwork this week with the state of Michigan. It is moving forward. We anticipate, I've asked Fredericks to be prepared to have that to public bid in the month of January. And we're giving 2 construction seasons to have it completed prior to the car show weekend, or to start after the Bird Days of summer. So we'll have two type of bid opportunities for companies to select from. If things go as timelined out on the table, we'd be opening the bids in early February, going back to the council to award contracts and be in a position of what construction season it's gonna occur in.
Okay.
But it is moving forward. It's, I can't remember the exact number between over $500,000 worth of MEDC grant money and then matching money from the village.
Okay. And then as far as the replacement of the dam too, that's my last.
Yeah, that's moving forward. It's under the discretion of the drain commissioner. It's the drain commissioner's project. And our last communication, they're proceeding forward with the plans they have.
Thank you.
All right, any other member comments? Thanks again, Kyle, appreciate it. All right, the time is 9:10 and I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Jim, it's a radio show you're doing